Today we are covering null in C, a crucial concept for any developer to understand, especially when working with variables and conditional statements. Now let's consider a common issue in programming where we need to handle variables that may or may not have a value. This is particularly important in C where null can have different meanings. Watch what happens when we try to use a variable without checking if it has a value. So, let's think about how we can solve this problem. Here's where most people get confused about null and zero. Now let's talk about the concept of null in C. Simply put, null is a special value that indicates a variable does not have a valid value. Think of it like a pointer that doesn't point to a valid memory location. Did you notice that we use a null pointer to indicate the absence of a value? Here's how we define null in C. Hash define null, void asterisk 0. Now let's walk through a simple example. So first we have a pointer to an integer. Then we assign it a null value, and this last line prints the value of the pointer. Let's break it down. Int asterisk ptr is a pointer to an integer. Ptr is equal to null assigns the null value, and print prints the value. Watch what happens when we run this code. Now let's consider a more realistic example. Suppose we have a function that returns a pointer to a dynamically allocated array. If the allocation fails, the function returns null. We need to check for this condition to avoid crashes. So, let's see how we can do this. First we call the function, then we check if the returned pointer is null, and if it's not null, we can use the array. Here's where most people get confused. Now let's look at a common mistake, not checking for null before using a pointer. So, let's see what happens when we do this. If we don't check for null, the program will crash. Here's the bad code. Int asterisk ptr is equal to null, print %d asterisk ptr. And here's the fix. If ptr is equal to null, print %d asterisk ptr. Did you notice the difference? That's it for today's tutorial. Try practicing with null pointers and don't forget to subscribe to Akshay for more programming tutorials.